Good morning and welcome to today's almost daily devotional. We are for Wednesday, March 3rd, which is hard to believe. This year has gone crazy fast, I think. Today's scripture reading is going to be from the Gospel according to John, and this is chapter 15, and it starts with the ninth verse. As the Father loved me, I too have loved you. Remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy will be in you and your joy will be complete. This is my commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. No one has greater love than to give up one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I don't call you servants any longer because servants don't know what their master is doing. Instead, I call you friends because everything I heard from my Father I have made known to you. You didn't choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so you could go and produce fruit, and so your fruit could last. As a result, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. I give you these commandments so you can love each other. It's a powerful passage. It's a really familiar one. Everybody learned that song, I think, at VBS. This is my commandment. If you love one another, that your joy may be full, right? It's one of those childhood songs that sticks with us. And it's interesting that it comes almost immediately before Jesus' crucifixion in John's gospel. This is amongst the last thing that Jesus has to say to his disciples. And it's maybe not one of the things that we would expect someone to say right before, they're going to die a horrific death. But he takes time out to say, you know, you're going to be angry and upset and you're going to grieve my loss. And I know this about you, but my commandment to you is to be filled with joy and not with anger. My commandment to you is to be filled with love and not with hatred. Such an interesting thing. And how do you do that? That's not something that's natural. That's not going to come to us just because, Jesus told us to, right? And he gives us some clues. He says, because the Father has loved me, I have loved you. And because I have loved you, you can love one another. Now, as I have loved you, love one another. Now, it's a self sacrificial love in some ways. Presbyterians tend to hear this as be humble, be kind, work your fingers to the bone, don't let anybody know about it. Um, don't take care of yourself. That's not what Jesus is saying here. What he's saying here is that you have to be willing to do the hard work to love somebody else. And that means um, doing the hard work of pursuing reconciliation, of listening and hearing one another. It means being engrafted into the vine of Jesus Christ. We can't love unconditionally. We can't love with the kind of joy and peace that true love requires, um, unless we do it with God's love, unless we're engrafted into that vine, unless we live into that friendship, that calling of Christ. So we have to tend to that. We can't reach out and love one another unless we've tended the love of Christ in ourselves. We have to open our hearts to the love that God has for us. And that takes work too. It's not just the reaching out, but it's the being refilled in order to do the reaching out. That's important. It's that eternal love of God that lets us continually live into the kind of commitment that loving our neighbors, really loving our neighbors, takes. And that is our challenge for today. May God bless.